Hey, this is Connie Benjamin with Purpose Driven Entrepreneurs, and I am so excited today to be interviewing Jane Ubell-Meyer. Let me tell you about this amazing lady. So Jane is actually a former TV producer, and her credits include GMA, ET, and WSI TV. She also produced several films, an award-winning entrepreneur. Ubell-Meyer founded bedsidereading.com, which is a company dedicated to focusing on promoting authors as speakers, as brands, and by placing their books, get this is so awesome, in luxury and boutique hotels, the media, and on social media. Bedside reading, book candy for every guest. I love that. Jane, oh my gosh, I just am so excited to dive into this conversation. So let's begin. First of all, welcome and tell me, why are you so passionate about what you do?
So, Connie, first of all, thanks for inviting me. This is really a treat for me. I love helping entrepreneurs. That's my passion. So this is awesome. Um, so let me start by saying that as you mentioned, I'm a former TV and news producer. And having been in the corporate world for a long time, at a certain age, actually, I believe it was probably age 40, I finally said, I've had enough of this corporate world. And I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My father, his father, my brother, my sister, everybody in a lot of family members are entrepreneurs. So I kind of had to decide what was it that made me happy. And that's a really interesting question to ask yourself. What makes you happy and what what pays the bills? So I started a company in May 26, 2002. I launched a company called Buzz Bags with a friend of mine, and we were placing books and products in the Hamptons. And over the course of 20 years, my partner and I split up. I started another company, and we became the top leader in celebrity gifting in LA and around the country. And then 3 years ago, March 27th, 2017, my best friend passed away, and I stopped, I paused, and I had to really find that why in my life. Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And is it making me happy? And at that moment, I was not happy. I was certainly depressed and saddened by my friend passing. And because of COVID, we've all had a lot of, we've known people that have passed, and it's a good time to like reflect. What is your life about? It's not always about money. It's not always about finding, doing everything you love, because sometimes that does not pay the bills and you do have to live. So it's finding a happy medium. And for me, one of the things that has always brought me joy since I was a little girl was reading. Mm-hmm. And years ago, when I was in my 20s, I had an experience that changed my life. I was dating a really cute guy, and he said, if you learn how to scuba dive, I'll take you to the Caribbean. And I learned how to scuba dive. We went to the Caribbean. And then what happened was that I ended up, we go to the hotel in St. Martin's in the Caribbean. And before we walk in the door, he says to me, now I'm 22 years old. He says to me, I'm sorry, but I'm just not into you. And I was devastated. But right before I left, my stepmother had given me a book to read called Cry to Heaven. And I loved it. And that was the book that saved my vacation. And in the back of my mind, I always said, take a book with you wherever you travel. So when I was reevaluating my life 3 years ago, I said, you know what, let me help people that are traveling. So I decided to amp up my book program, even though it's been going on in the Hamptons for years. And I created bedside reading. And I contacted the Mandarin Oriental, New York, and the Aquilina in Florida, and the Waldorf Astoria in Beverly Hills, and Chicago, et cetera, all around the country. And I launched the program called Bedside Reading. And everything was great. And literally, it took off like a rocket ship. And then, of course, COVID hit. And like all entrepreneurs and all businesses, we were like dumbstruck. What are we going to do now? All my hotels shut down, or they all said, we don't want books anymore. And that was been my business. So I had to pivot. And, as an entrepreneur, we all have this one thing that I think is intrinsic to all entrepreneurs is this ability to find the solution to problems. That's kind of in our DNA because that's why we are entrepreneurs. We find solutions to problems. And oftentimes those solutions create new businesses. They do lots of other things. So I was very fortunate. And I had this, I mean, fortunate in the sense where I kept thinking and thinking and thinking, and I had a lot of contacts in the publishing world. And I ended up publishing a magazine called Bedside Reading the Magazine, which is really, it came out. I started this in April of 2020. So COVID hit, we shut down March 15th. I started doing this in April, and then this came out July 4th weekend, and we're actually doing another one this year. So we're excited about.
Yeah.
But what I had to do in terms of pivoting, I had to realize if the hotels are not accepting books, some hotels still remained open, although limited occupancy. We created a program called On the Download, where we provided digital books and audio books. Because if hotels were not accepting physical books, remember, hotels were clearing out any paper, anything in the room that they thought could carry the virus.
Right. Yeah.
They were cleaning everything. So we had to do something digital. Yeah. And that started a whole new business on the Download. And now we're going to be in, we're going to be in thousands of hotels starting in, I believe it's July. And the magazine is still flourishing. And the Hamptons of Placing Books is really helping my authors, which goes back to that, like, what's my why? And I found out my real why, and I'm kind of excited to share that with you because I really never thought about it until recently. And here's my why. Ready?
Absolutely. I am on the edge of my seat, Jane.
Okay. Yes. It's not about the money. Yeah. My why is that I love to be of service. I love to help people. That's what I do. That's who I am intrinsically. I love to help people. That's my why. So I'm helping authors stand out from the clutter. You know, if they say it was written somewhere, probably on Amazon, Google or something, I don't know, that there are 8,000 books published every day all around the world. So if you're an author, how do you stand out from all that noise? Yeah. So my why is how to help that author, whether it's an independent author or an author with a hybrid publisher or a traditional publisher, that author needs help. And I created a number of programs, excuse me, that are very, very affordable. So that's my why, is to help my authors. And that, I love it when my authors come back to me and go, oh my God, Jane, I love you. I'm coming back. Can't wait to do this again. And that's my why.
That is so amazing. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being willing to share that story. There's so many pieces of I'm obsessed with stories, Jane. I don't know if I told you this, but I'm totally obsessed with stories. And so hearing pieces of your story and how, you felt inspired to do something and that perseverance that it took. And I love too, how you point out so brilliantly what the entrepreneurial journey is like. That it's this constant juggling between what do I love to do, what am I good at, and what will I get paid for as well? Yes. How can I support myself too, and my family, and the dreams that I have, and the dreams of others too. And so it's such a beautiful depiction of that. And I also love how creative you were. You think about this idea of going into these luxury hotels and placing books, like, who thought of that? Jane thought of that.
It's funny. I always have a joke. Like I say to people, you've heard of Gideon's Bible?
Yeah.
And I say, well, didn't I do a good job? So, listen, when you're traveling and you go into the room, I travel a lot, or I used to. Yeah. And the first thing you do when you walk into the room, you know what you do? You look at the bed. Yeah. That's where your brain goes. And then somehow your brain or your goes to the nightstand. I don't know why. And on that nightstand is usually a clock, radio or something like that. And so what we decided to do is we put our books right next to the clock radio or on either side of the bed, because we want the guests in the hotels when they wake up, we want people in the beds to see my clients' books. That's what I want. So, and I have to tell you, I want to talk about being an entrepreneur because that's really so important to me. So I'll tell you two really quick stories if you love stories. So
stories.
First one, when I lived in LA and I was a personal manager. I represented everybody from Paul Rudd to Judd Hirsch to Pernell Roberts to whatever, lots of celebrities.
Yeah.
And I had a business with a partner, and I had I was contacted by a guy who said he had the rights to a book, and did I want to make the book into a movie? And I had never made a movie before. Yeah. And I went, yes, I love this. So I wrote the treatment, and I called 36 production companies in Hollywood. All 36 of them said, no, thank you. And my business partner said to me, Jane, just drop it. Enough. Like, you're making me crazy.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I see the movie in my head, so that's not acceptable to me to drop it. Like, I said it was a little bit more less eloquent when I said it. I said, I'm not freaking stopping this. And I made the next call I made to a big company, and I said, my name is Jane Ubell. I have this book. I have this actress attached to it. Do you want to make the movie? Yes or no? And I was so aggravated because my partner was standing there, and they go, yes. And we ended up making the movie, and the movie was very, very successful. It was a TV movie many years ago called Leona Helmsley, The Queen of Mean.
Okay.
And that was a great movie for me. And what I learned was a couple of things, but what I learned was when you have a vision in your brain, but as an entrepreneur, if you see it and everybody around you is saying no, and you really, really feel it internally that there's a passion and you need to do this, forget everybody else. Just do it. Make it non-freaking negotiable that it's done, and go to the next step. Not that you want it, but that it's already done. It's very much that you need to feel the feelings of being successful. The feelings of being successful is what will propel you forward as an entrepreneur. Feel it. And this was successful. I had a friend give me a book. It was called Losing My Virginity by Richard Branson. And it was by the side of my bed for 3 years. And then one night I picked it up. I read till 4 o'clock in the morning. And then the next night I read till 4:30 in the morning. And I woke up my husband. I go, oh my God, I love this guy. I love Richard Branson. He's me. I'm him. I'm going to get Richard Branson to call me. Yeah. And over the course of a year, these magical things kept happening. Like the very next day, a woman called me out of the blue. I don't even know her. And she wanted to be in my program with the celebrity gifting. I was doing something for Paul McCartney at the time. And she goes, I need to put my organic, soaps in the gift bag for Paul McCartney. And I went, you know what? She didn't have any money. I went, fine, happy to help you out. And she said, what can I do for you? And I said, oh, I just want Richard Branson to call me. And she goes, no problem. I used to work for him.
What?
I know. I went, what? I went, are you kidding me? And I said, wait, I don't have anything to say to him, so let's put it on the table. And then the next day, I got a call from another woman out of the blue, and she was this housewife in Greenwich, Connecticut. What are you doing? And I said, she goes, what do you want to do? I said, I just want Richard Branson to call me. And she goes, I know. My ex-boyfriend was his blah, 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 and I've access. And then I called another friend of mine in London, and he said, oh, my friend is the godfather to his kids. And then I went, stop. I have nothing to say to Richard Branson. I better put this on hold. And then a month or two later, the tsunami hits remember the tsunami hits in Indonesia?
Yes.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And this woman calls me out of the blue and she goes, hello, British accent. She goes, I know that you, and one of my programs is we were placing gift bags on United Airlines in the first and business class passengers. And she said to me, would you do gift bags for another airline? I said, no, it's not really my thing. I have a deal with United. And I said, what do you do? She goes, oh, we do the same. We do amenity bags for Air New Zealand, Air Canada, Virgin Atlantic. I went, Virgin Atlantic, Richard Branson owns that.
Yeah.
And I said, and I told her my fun story that I'm telling you. She goes, you won't believe this, but my boss is with him right now on the tarmac, and they're going to Indonesia with supplies. So she goes, I will get him to call you. So 10 minutes later, the phone rings. This British guy calls me on the phone, and I'm dying, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is Richard Branson. And in fact, it was not. It was his friend.
Okay.
And he said, why do you want to meet Richard Branson? And we were talking. And anyway, long story short, I didn't make a deal with him, but it was a lovely conversation. And then about the next November, that was June, next November, yeah. I went to a meeting, and it was a women's group, and we all had to get up and talk about what we do. And I went, I place products on airlines. And she said, oh, Virgin America is launching, and we'd love to talk to you. And I said, great. And then the next day I get my assistant gives me a little sticky because I'm in a meeting. She goes, call this woman back right away. Richard Branson wants to meet you tomorrow morning. And I started to cry. And that was the call. And so I spoke to her. She goes, wear jeans, look cute, do this, do that. Very, she was guiding me.
Yeah.
I go to the meeting.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he dropped the agency like that morning. And so he never showed up. But that was okay. I went, you know what? Not a problem. I got somebody from his office to call me.
Yeah.
That next night, I get a call from another agency. We'd like you to do something for Richard Branson's launch, the Gateway for Virgin America in New York City. Yeah. And I said, the only caveat is that I need to meet him. And of course I did. Yeah. And of course I met him, and we took photos, and he said, come sit with me. And we had a great chat, and it was the time of my life. And they called me again, and I did it for the San Diego Gateway, and it was really awesome. Yeah. So, it's that feeling of knowingness that this is going to happen, and it's energy. It's all about having that feeling that I felt like when I read that book, and I finished at 4:30 in the morning, and I woke up my husband. I said, Richard Branson's going to call me, or already had called me. Like I felt it, that it was already done.
Yeah.
So that's one of the lessons I learned, was about the energy of wanting versus the energy of having. And I made decisions to have this, just to frickin' have it. And when you have such high energy, and you know that you could see the future, or pretend to see the future, that it's a success, that helps propel you. So that's, two of the lessons I've learned being an entrepreneur.
Jane, I feel like I could listen to your stories for hours. So good. Oh my gosh. There's so many lessons that we can learn from those stories. You think about the perseverance it took, that knowing that you had, and that it didn't happen right away.
No,
we can't give up. We're on the entrepreneurial journey. We all have been hit with major changes and things that need to happen this year. And you talk about that in your beginning story of going digital, and then with Russell Branson. Talking
about Richard Branson.
Now I got Russell Branson in my head. Richard Branson. Sorry about that. With Richard Branson, to that didn't happen right away.
No, it didn't.
It was a series of events.
It's funny about timing. I mean, sometimes it's not our timing; it's the universe's timing. Yes. And the one thing you have to always do as an entrepreneur is take action.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little baby action, like typing his name and Googling it, or something that's really tiny, take the action and keep the momentum going, because it will happen if you make a decision that it has already happened.
I love it. I love it so much. Oh my gosh, this conversation has been amazing. How do we get in touch with you?
Very simply, I have a great website, bedsidereading.com. You can always reach me at jane@bedsidereading.com. And we have great programs for authors, and you feel free to email me. You can apply to be on any of our programs right on the homepage, and we're here to help people. I have we have 14 people on my team. We're really growing, and we're just an amazing, really loving company.
I love it so much. Reach out to Jane. She's the real deal. And I love what you shared today. Jane, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Connie. I'm so thrilled for you and what you've done. So you're awesome.
Thank you so much. For you listening right now, whether you're an author or a speaker or somebody that is a purpose-driven entrepreneur where you've got this message you just got to get out, I encourage you to connect with Jane and also to take that next step. Listen to what she shared with us today. Listen to the meaning behind the stories, the perseverance it requires, the knowing that you can do this. Take action, take that next step. And I promise you, as you do, you'll illuminate your path before you and you'll illuminate the world. And until next time, let your fire light up the world because the world needs you right now.